All right, so hello everyone. My name is Major. I'm the host of the Majorvation podcast, where we talk about all things inspirational, aspirational, and motivational. I'm thrilled to introduce my next special guest, someone I've admired for quite some time. His relentless work ethic, his remarkable growth and openness in sharing his journey have deeply inspired me, and I'm sure countless others. He's not just navigating this bold new digital world that we live in, he's coaching others on how to thrive in it as well. And I want to, without further ado, welcome Roger to the podcast, the Majorvation podcast. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to do this.
Absolutely. So first, I want to get into the name. I think you have a really great name in regards to your handle on social media, Content CEO. Where did that derive from? Because I think it's just a powerful statement.
Yeah, it was really just a time where I was filming actually the first night for Dan Fleischman here in Los Angeles. And I came off filming Mark Wahlberg and Bruce Buffer that night. And I was telling them there was such a presence of motivational people around me. And I noticed the consistency of their handles. It was either their names or something catchy. And I called a very close friend of mine, Casey Adams, and called Casey and I was telling him about this and we were just riff-raffing back and forth on names. And he just said it. He was like, your name is Content CEO. He's like, you're just dealing with CEOs and you're always making content. And he's like, look right now, see if that's available. And it was. And kind of that the rest is history on that kind
That's
of
so
just
great. Were you surprised that that name was available? Because I was like, it's such a great
yeah,
name.
saying it now, I feel strong about it, but in the moment, I was like, all right, like it sounds cool, I guess. I wasn't 100% locked on it. It was really the fact that the person who was giving me the advice, I was going to him. And
Yeah,
I'm all about if I'm going to someone for answers and then they give me an answer and then I'm rejecting it, I'm like, all right, that's kind of contrary to me even asking. So in the moment, I wasn't all locked in about it, but I thought I liked the synergy of the idea of what he was saying to me, which is like, hey, you're all about content. You're working with CEOs. The two names go hand in hand. And I was like, all right, there's alignment with who I'm working with.
right. No, that makes sense. It's definitely a great marketing tool. And so, in regards to your origin, are you originally born and raised in California?
No, so I'm born and raised in Miami, Florida. I spent the
Okay.
first 18 years of my life there. And then at 18, I made the decision to take my talents to New York for my undergraduate degree at Iona University, which is a small private Catholic university about 30 minutes north of New York City.
Wow.
And then at that point, when I graduated with business management, I stayed in the area locally to continue what I didn't know at the time was social media. I was just taking pictures for a local gym in the area. And that, after 3 years of that, I got into a lot of New York City fitness scene. Everywhere from like most of my friends were big fitness models, so I was just working with a ton of brands because of them. And then that got me involved with Grip Boxing, which is a gym opened by Tony Robbins, Pitbull, and the Stanker family. And those three combined to open a fitness place there where I was running the content all of 2019.
Wow.
And then 2020, we all know what happened there. I was down in Miami, Florida during that time, and Dan had previously offered me to move to LA that November earlier. But I just didn't think it was right because in New York City I was thriving from my circle, my friends, everything I was doing. I was like, I just didn't see myself leaving. And then it came around where things were turning. People were leaving. The city wasn't what it is. The opportunities were changed. And I sent him a text saying, hey, like, is that offer still on the table? And he's like, yeah, since yesterday. So June 20, that happened like June 25th. By June 27th, give or take, or a week after, like mid-June, by June 27th was the official date where I moved into a studio apartment here in Hollywood, California.
Wow.
And 4 years later, a lot of plane rides and a lot of events.
Yeah.
I'm still here. Yeah.
That's amazing. So walk me back to the actual journey of the let's talk about the concept of the camera, right? And what
Yep.
it's done for you. Like that is like
Oh
kind of
man.
the symbolism of what's kind of catapult to you. Is that
Right.
it's kind of like the
Right. Yeah. So it's what I like to tell people, the camera was my vessel to travel the world and connect with people. When I was starting out with social media as a whole, it wasn't really used for business. It was just kind of there and people were still like it was there, but it wasn't. It was like the awkward pictures of your food, hashtag selfie food and all that stuff that was going on that no one was really using or thriving for business as it is today. And it's like it's a must today.
Right.
And so when I was starting out, I was convincing people to start an Instagram account. I was convincing people why they should hire me to run their Instagram. And during that time, I was not even sure. And I think this is so important when you're starting out, is like there's massive uncertainty that you experience within yourself. And a lot of it derives from you just not never doing it before. But I believe that you eliminate all that doubt with two things. Number one is putting in the work, and number two is the preparation towards the work. Because if you're not prepared for the moment, which there was a lot of moments that was for me, you're extremely anxious and nervous. But if you have a positive attitude, you somehow I always just figured it out. That was
Yeah.
like the consistent thing with me. It was like I would just figure it out. I didn't know, but I would figure it out.
Yeah.
And through that over and over trial and error, you start to piece things together. You're like, okay, now I understand how to tackle, a wedding, right? And now I understand how to tackle a personal brand shoot. Hey, now I understand how to tackle a lifestyle shoot. And so through that consistency of just showing up for myself and doing that for other people, that's where I really built the confidence. But it, for me, truly took like 4 years of me doing it to really be like, all right, this is what I'm doing.
Right.
And it was really because it was the backbone of like people not even knowing what social media was, and I couldn't even clarify myself what I was doing or how I was doing it. So there was so many questions around it, but ultimately I knew that I was capturing moments in time that people really enjoyed because of their reactions. Like that's what kept me going throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's going to be signs throughout what you're doing, especially as a creative, where you're going to see from people react to your work. And that reaction is what fueled me every time and time again. Of like, oh, I love this video. Hey, I love this photos. And then I was like, all right, I'm onto something. Like this is working. Like people, there's a transaction here for my service and people being in love with my work and then doing that over and over and over. And then it grew to the local, what I see understand now is like the local validation of the people that I was working with, to then being people that I admired who are CEOs or celebrities. When I
Yeah.
was getting their validation, I was like, all right, I guess I'm okay at this, you know? Like I still would always question it. And my closest friend, Frankie Dag, who believed in me before I believed in myself, I remember a lot of my big gigs after filming some like iconic names, like they would be like, hey, I love your work. Hey, I love your work. And I would call him like, dude, like, I think I'm a good photographer. Like this is actually, they're accepting my work, you know? And I think through that, then ultimately I was like, all right, this is like something I could do for the rest of my life.
Yeah,
This is
that's
something
amazing.
that, say again.
I say that's amazing.
Yeah. And so it was through a lot of that then I realized like this is my future. This is kind of how my life, I didn't know the extent of it, but I just knew that it involved the camera because it just continuously, time and time again, it's taken me all over the world. Like there's no, from Africa to, just a couple weeks ago, I was in Greece, and it was all because of work and through my camera and
Right.
using that, what I sell as my vessel to see the world, to interact with different people from different backgrounds, which is what I love most, and truly see the world in a different light.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always admire that concept. You know, when you look at athletes, right? They say it has allowed me to do so much. If you look at public speakers, they say it has allowed me to do so much. And but that's but I always like to focus on the tool and the talent was you, and also the camera that you were using. But I want to tell you a real quick funny story that you didn't probably I've never told this story to you. Um, but when we went to the Aspire tour, my son was enamored by everything that was going on and hearing all the talks, and so I got him really involved into those particular spaces, going to different seminars to kind of see other people speak, and obviously, he enjoys playing around with his camera as well. It's one of his pastimes that he enjoys, and as I began following Dan Fleischman and other individuals in that space, he would be right there with me on Instagram looking through certain content or whatever. And it's like, man, that is a really dope shot. Like, I want to shoot like this. And fast forward, we hadn't met you yet. And to come to what is it, the Wild
Wild
Ranch,
jungle. Yeah.
the Wild Jungle, and then actually to meet you and still didn't truly know who you were at that particular moment. But before that, we were marveling at the work that Dan's page had and the photos and videos that you were having and whatnot. And so come to full circle to have the favor of you to reach out in consideration to mentor my kids or Carlo after you had the opportunity to meet him and see what he was about. You have no idea the excitement that you brought to him. I just want to say
Love
I
that.
appreciate you and I thank you, but those types of things resonate with so many people and just don't know how it is inspiring the next generation or someone that's even older, that's 40 and 50, that's getting started. Like
Right.
what you do is universal. And I think that kind of segues into watching you over the last 5, 6 months on this. I would say for me on the outside looking in, it felt like a spiritual, mental, and physical journey and the
Yeah.
transformation of yourself. Could you kind of talk about what that reset was like and what pushed
Yeah.
that particular limit?
Yeah, so I've just, the first thing is that you're referring to for those listening or watching is that six months ago and a week ago, I made the decision to stop drinking, smoking, having eating fast food, and having soda in my life. And the biggest thing, I wasn't someone I would consider, that sounds like someone who's an addict, but someone who socially, due to work, I was in a lot of social settings a lot.
Right,
And I would have a social drink. And then without noticing, I would be having two or three a night. And I was someone who was active. So then I was frustrated with a multitude of places in my life. And when I was reflecting on all of it, the nucleus was alcohol. Like, hey, how am I not hitting my fitness goals? Alcohol. How am I sleeping bad? Alcohol. How am I, so it was just like the consistency of that. And then, when I fully said to myself, what are the reasons in which why am I doing this? Which is, I think, a really big point for anyone when they're making a massive change. You need to outline the things that are pushing you to not do the thing that you don't want to do anymore because then that gives you your purpose. We all hear it with Simon Sinek, the why. What is my why?
right,
And so I knew it wasn't one thing. I boiled it down to five things. I said it was one, my relationship with God, two, my relationship with my family, which really was my relationship with my mom, three, my relationship with my fitness, four, my relationship with my finances, and number five, the relationship with myself. And I then made the decision of like, okay, I'm going to be doing, this is why I'm doing these things. And I need a drastic change. So then I just became obsessed with alternating the quick dopamine hits for pain later. So what does that mean? So when you have alcohol, it's quick and easy. You can just grab it, boom, and then you feel terrible later. I reversed it. I would put myself through the workouts first to then make myself feel great later.
right.
And I became obsessed with the idea of transforming. I don't know necessarily it was my body, it was really just the action itself. Like every day I just told myself, hey, I'm gonna do hot yoga, I'm gonna go for a run, I'm gonna lift weights. Hey, I'm gonna go run, I'm gonna lift weights, I'm gonna, just jog. It was always that mindset every day that I told myself no matter what and where I was, that I was going to do it. And I stayed continuous throughout that journey, especially the 6 months. I didn't travel as much as I used to because there was a point where I was on a plane every other day. So there was a tie to the first 30 days, really. I was just bunkered down in LA, where I became obsessed with hot yoga, which introduced me to breathing and meditating and reflecting, which is a lot of what I do today. And continuously by doing that, it led me to start running again. And then in between weight training, because I realized, all this cardio is amazing. And I was losing body fat, but then realizing, all right, the body that I aspire to have requires me picking up weights. And that was something that was very inconsistent in my past of like, I would go to the gym once and then wouldn't be to the gym for 2 weeks again. And throughout the journey, my 6 month journey, I realized there was a lot of things that I was doing that was what I consider pouring into my garden, just not in the right places of my life. If I'm going to water something, let it be my fitness, let it be my religious beliefs, let it be my family, that I would pour heavy into those areas, and then I would stop pouring into areas that didn't serve me, which were places that we all know about, that you do the things that you know that you're not going to thank yourself for tomorrow about. And I did a lot of those things. So I just made that decision of me wanting to be this new version of myself that consisted of a lot of things I would never do. That would be sometimes, biking. I remember being on vacation in Tulum, Mexico, and I was out with my friends the night before, and I had made the decision that no matter what, at 7 a.m., I was going to bike ride for 6 miles. I was going to run, and I was going to pick up weights before 9 a.m. And so doing that, when I was in Greece, we were docked in at an island. I was like, hey, I saw the island like probably like 50 yards away, and I had the little dinghy drop me off at the random island, and I'm literally running in the middle of nowhere with two friends of mine just to like get my miles in and get my body moving. And at that point, then I realized it always becomes down to how bad not only do you want it, but you create an excuse for you not being able to do something, or you find a way to do it.
Right.
And that allowed me to really, really not only be consistent in my own self of like the work, but the relationship, what I say is with myself of saying, all right, like those conversations, we all go through it in our head of like, what if that, what if this, and kind of you could always find an excuse for something, but then ultimately by you making the decision and sticking to your word, it starts to build massive confidence, and not only in your work ethic, but like the relationship you have with yourself. And when you say you're going to do it, you do it.
Yeah.
Then you don't kind of waver from that. And that's the biggest thing that it taught me of like, then when I decided what I believe to step up to become the man that God created me to be, everyone around me is just happening now where like I have a friend today, like as soon as we finish this podcast, she literally is flying across the country and she literally texts me, hey, I land at noon, pick me up and let's go on a hike. So it's like that aura of like how people perceive you and kind of what you present out to the world. At first, for me, wasn't that. It was never that. But now that, I've showed them my dedication, I've showed up for myself, the other people start to buy in. And the cool thing about that is that like you're not only changing your own life, which I didn't think would happen. That's the crazy part of like the culmination of me deciding to live the way I'm living, how other people, and it serves for them to be inspiration. Like I didn't start this to be inspired by, no, it was really selfishly, it was all about me. It was
Right.
like, what can I do for me? How can I change my life? What is helping me? And then through that, now I'm seeing the real effect, especially when I posted like my 6 month journey video. I started on the daily. I have my phone on me, but I would get messages from people. And it started to happen so much that I created like a note section, which I call my holy testimony. And that's just really like, all right, me deciding to stick to what I'm saying I'm going to do, like the impact that it's having, that
Yeah.
it's way bigger than me. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's even more of a reason why I have to keep living this way. It's just because of, I'm really seeing the benefit behind me showing up for myself and how it could impact others by me just deciding to live a healthy life.
Yeah, no, that's so fruitful. Thank you for elaborating on that. That's such a great journey. I want to ask you too, though, being in the industry that you're in, coming from New York after school and coming to LA and making that decision to work with Dan. I've been here 24 years. I'm originally from Texas.
Hmm.
I started out in sports, evolved into music entertainment. I was a music artist, and um, one thing that I discovered on the intro of your talent, and I want to know if you had this issue or if you had certain, instances of this. How your intro, sometimes people kind of only see you as how they initially first meet you.
Yeah,
Being the
I love
photographer,
that. Yeah,
being
yeah.
being the photographer, some people put you
Mhm.
in a box. But what
Yeah,
I've seen the transition of how Dan has supported you, not only supported you, but actually kind of called you out and
yeah,
to begin the workshop. That is a very unique scenario because a lot of people that start in certain places that are in certain circles don't have the push from the other individuals that are more successful, so to speak, to push them to thrive and be just as big or even bigger in their own space. How has that experience been? And has it always been that way for you in the circles you've been in?
so the three-part question. So the first part of it that I took away was that, how people perceive you. And I think that is so big because even yesterday I read their quote, there's like 1,000 versions of you out there in the world because of how people see you and how they've met you.
Yeah,
And I think that's why it's so important to have a personal brand, because Dan says it all the time, where if you don't showcase to the world who you are, others will speak about you and tell you who you are. And I just believe that's so true. And so for me, I just said to myself, I'm just going to document my life. I'm going to document the things that are happening in my life. I'm going to document my journey, just really just filming. And over time, creatively, I would have fun with it. But the idea was like, this is my new identity. And I believe a lot of the time, psychologically speaking, they've done studies on the brain that when you express what you're going to be doing, the brain doesn't know the difference between you doing it or wanting to do it. So it's a sense of fulfillment and you feel accomplished before you've even done it. And so a lot of it, what for me, I was just day by day, like I wasn't telling people, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. It was like, today I'm going to go to hot yoga. Today I'm going to go to a workout. Do you want to come? And I believe when you're on a new journey, especially a personal fitness journey or kind of a transformation journey, keep as much stuff to yourself. You know, you could journal, you could share information. For me, I'm so lucky. I really had a community of people that I would call, text pretty often about my life, of what was going on. And a lot of the times I was breaking down or crying like that. That's the truth. Like, a lot of it was lonely. A lot of it had me question why I was doing it. But luckily, I feel so blessed where I had people in my life that I can call and talk to about things. And for me, that was so vital, because not only would they remind me what I'm doing, they would speak life into me, and speak life into why I'm doing and how I'm doing it, and just push me to be like, hey, like, I'm watching you, I'm loving what you're doing. Hey, you know, this is gonna happen. It's okay. People who were already on a sobriety journey, speaking to them on lingo, losing friends, like, you know, when you find people that not only have done what are achieving to do, it gives you hope. And I think that's so important. And I think over time with life, just like anything else, is as much as you put out there of this person you're proclaiming to be, mixed with the action that you're doing, then the new kind of version of you is then starting to be seen by people.
Mhm.
And there was a lot of people who in the past, funny enough, would send me like, hey, let's go to this nightclub when we visit this part of the world, or hey, let's go. And then it transformed to them sending me workout videos. And then it transformed to them sending me like meditation videos. So it's like, I just believe at a whole, the humans love to connect with humans. And depending how someone met you, that's their interpretation of you, and then also what they believe to share with you. Because that's how we connect, right? The mutuality of saying, hey, like, I know your son loves photography, so me sending you photography stuff would make sense. Where
Right.
you would be like so like weirded out, or kind of being like, why is Roger randomly sending me all this baseball stuff? Like, I don't even watch baseball. It's the connections that we look for in humans. And so I think a lot of times when you have a friend who used to be in your past and viewed you in a certain way, they're going to question you. And they're not questioning you because they're doubting you. They're questioning you because they don't see that version of you that
Right.
you are aspiring to be.
Right.
I'll tell this story. It was probably like right at the beginning of my sobriety journey, where there was a friend of mine who called me. I was like, hey, let's go out. I'm in town. And I'm like, hey, unfortunately, like, it was really this conversation. I still remember I was sitting in my car right before I pulled up into my apartment building. And I was like, look, like, I don't like to be in those settings anymore. That's just not me. I was like, but instead of being that person that would walk into the club with you at midnight, I'm going to be the friend that'll call you at 8 a.m. to go on a run. Instead of being that friend that would stay up with you to watch the sunrise, I'm gonna be that friend that if you need help with your business, I could probably help you or put you in connect with someone to help you do that. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm just operating in a different place, but I'm not disappearing. I just at the point in which you want me, that's what's changing. So I'm
Right.
not the 10 p.m. to 7 a.m. guy anymore. I'm the 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. type of guy
Yeah.
where you can contact, you can connect, you can come to my events. And then that was when I had conviction, and then seeing the reception of it could go either or, like, oh, you're too cool, or hey, that's, you know, the negative behind it. But the response was, wow, I love that. And I appreciate that. And kind of like, I respect what you're doing, and I think it's cool. And so I think it's just how you communicate when you're going through transformation that people create, you know, that new perception of you, mixed with you doing the work itself.
Yeah.
And that's why at the beginning I didn't want to be vocal about me doing it. But then I realized, like, wait, like, this is it. Like, this is the whole part of life. Like, watching someone do something that others may say that they can't, or see them do it in a way that, like, I fell in love. Like, that's really what it became. Where now, if I don't run, if I don't work, like, I'm prepping tomorrow. I'm running my first half marathon. And I made that decision this day last week. And I'm someone who's been running, so it's not totally obscure, but the distance I've never ran before. And at that 13 point, I've never done that before. But, you know, leading up to it since Monday, when I had my buddy of mine who's kind of helping me prep, he was like, yo, the 2 days before, like, it needs to be minimal movement. And so yesterday I was like tweaking out. I was like, dude, I just need to do something. He's like, all right, we'll go on walks. So I did like two 30-minute walks throughout my day. And then I just did body movement stuff, but I was like, this is so not like me. I was like, I had such a chill day.
Right.
And I remember driving. He's like, yeah, I could feel it with you. I was like, yeah, because I wasn't having any energy drinks. I wasn't doing any. I was just really like in the mindset of like, all right, I'm prepping my body for my future self. And I think that part of it is so deep. And the word I like to think about now is patient. It's like that's one word I'd never liked, but then I truly understood what it meant when I'm desiring something in the future. And
Yeah.
so it's like, if I want my body to be at the point where I need to be for Thursday, then I can't run it through the mud on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday because
Right,
I'm going to really regret it on Thursday. And
right.
having that hindsight, that future mindset of like, all right, I'm doing this now for my future self to thank me, doing that over and over and over and be like, all right, this is my why. This is why I'm doing it. This is why I'm prepping it. And doing it in a way that you know that you're building confidence for your future self to get through what you got to get through. And so for me, that's this half marathon that I'm running on tomorrow.
No, man, that's going to be amazing. So
Yeah,
essentially what
Thursday.
you just explained, um, the, the mindset of what you've created for yourself in that particular realm actually correlates to so many other industries, so many other levels that you continue to follow on. So it's a great blueprint for you to actually adopt and follow because it comes with discipline, it comes with patience, it comes with consistency, as you said. And then, the rewards are being able to look back and see all the progression that you've made over time. So I think that's great. That's such a great story. I was going to ask you about the importance of personal branding. I know you do the workshops from different cities, and me and a buddy of mine was talking 2 days ago. I was speaking at a conference, and offline we were just talking about the importance of personal branding when you're an entrepreneur and also a business owner. Typically the pushback or the feedback is that I don't know how to do it, or I'm
Right,
afraid, or no one cares about my life or my
right,
business.
right.
How have you been able to articulate that with, excuse me, how have you been able to articulate that in certain conversations, or have you had that type of feedback from others that were kind of hesitant on doing it?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing that you have to recognize is that, we live in digital world, and I think, back then, there wasn't a focus, right? We would consume content through TV, radio, billboards, commercials, just human behavior and attention. And so, if you're someone who has a business, or someone who has a small business, and or someone who I think the biggest part is focusing on the fact that you can be starting a business, the attention's on social media. Everyone, even this is the clear indicator when people are driving, they're still looking at their phones. And so it does not matter what you want to think, it's the reality of human behavior. And what I like to tell people all the time, you have to remember all these social media channels are free. And we have so many resources now that doesn't require a barrier of entry. Back then, if you wanted your business to be known, you had to pay the radio to shout you out. Back then, if you wanted to be known, you had to pay the TV outlets to shout you out. Today, you could literally within the next 30 minutes start an account with no one watching, no one listening, promote your business, and there's a high possibility of you going viral just off the given fact that you're giving it a chance to do so. So I truly believe that social media is not only where human behavior and attention is, but it's really the future of how we consume and consumer behavior, how we buy products, promote it, buy services as a whole. And I think over time, I'm not telling you to grab a selfie and take every picture that you can think of from your dog to your door to your house. No, I think that's why there's strategy, right? And I think the beauty behind everything I'm saying is you have the choice of how much you want to let people in and how much you want to document and how much you want to share. But having a baseline, whereas in now, I believe not having an Instagram is almost like sketchy. It's
Yeah,
like, what are you hiding?
right.
Why aren't you sharing that? I tell people all the time, Instagram is your 21st century business card. You make clear identity of a human by looking at their profile and saying, all right, this is what they're into, this is what they like, this is what they promote, this is what their business is as a whole. Before even saying hi to someone, you look at someone's profile and saying that they have any clear, indication on their business or their personal life, you'll know something.
Yeah,
And that, again, going back to what I said at the beginning, especially when it comes to human like one-on-ones, it's like you want to create a connection with someone. And so through social media, that allows you to do that. If you know they have a passion for a sports team, if you know that they have a passion for a specific animal that they love, they're always posting their dog, like you have a dog that's similar or have a name of the dog, like all that stuff matters when it comes to human interaction, which ultimately leads to business, right? People love people. And so if you're just saying, "Oh, I don't need it," that you're just hurting yourself. And I just believe it's sometimes not even about you. And I think another clear indication as someone like yourself is that you have your son so involved with everything you're doing is that you're showing him the way because that's the future of content as a whole. And parents have kids, and the kids look up to the parents. They're the number one thing that they see every day, they interact with. And if that parent is loving and caring towards not only what they do for their business and their kids, they'll also see that, okay, wow, my dad's making these videos and these podcasts and doing 100 of them, and he's meeting all these amazing people. That'll inspire him to do the same thing. And
Right.
then that just ties into anything that you're doing in the future, let it be with your nonprofit or anything that you're starting up again. And
Yeah.
so I believe personal branding as a whole is so important. I don't think there's no barrier of entry today. Go to youtube.com and you need to have an account. And from there, you could just search any of these questions that you have. YouTube for me was vital when I was starting out. That's literally how I learned everything. I would just YouTube how to take this type of picture, how to run this type of camera. Like that was it for me. So I believe similar to my transformation journey is that you could either find an excuse or you could ask the right questions that could lead you to a place where you could where you want to go. And social media as a whole, it's not slowing down, it's not going anywhere. It's doing the complete opposite. It's evolving at a rate that a lot of us can't even really understand. And so it's either one of those things, you jump on the train or the train's going to leave you so far behind that you don't even know where you're standing.
No, that's true. That's a great way to look at it. I was going to ask you, um, is there so when it comes to what you do, when it comes to creating content, we have like 3 minutes left. I don't want to take all your time. We have 3 minutes left. Can you kind of walk me through what's going on with you, what's coming up next,
Yeah.
where people can
Yeah. So it's been amazing where I've been having the opportunity to work alongside Dan. It's been 4 or 5 years now. And through that journey, I started my vision workshops. I did one in LA, went to Miami, went to Dallas, Texas, and then New York. I went from 8 people to 40 people to 26 to 27, give or take, averaging 24, 25 people at my events, my workshops. So 1 day workshop. And by doing that, Dan, he's always investing and getting involved with new projects and new companies. And he had got approached by Jen Gotling, who had her own video editing company. And just like every other reason why they approached Dan is they want to fuel to the fire, and he want get his relationship, his network to really focus in on that business. And that business is known as Viral Video Editor. So it's an online video editing service that would be provided to people, especially for people like yourself who have a podcast or are speaking consistently, to create 90-second videos or less with hooks, with certain enticing questions and things like that. And last week, Monday, he gave me the call to ask me to become the CEO of the company.
yes.
So yeah, that's pretty, even saying that out loud is pretty crazy. That just when I was driving with him the day after, he was like driving, he looked at me, he's like, "So how does it feel to be CEO?" And I'm like, I guess this is the thing. And the cool part about this company's been around already for I think over a year.
Okay.
It has a total of 30 employees, so this is not something that it's just by myself and I name my CEO. Like I'm really taking the reins behind, just yesterday I finished the mission statement, the core values. I'll be running a meeting every morning at 9 a.m. with the team, kind of what I'm going to be calling the rundown of like, hey, let's talk about what's going on today, what you didn't like, what you do like, and then ultimately, just leading from the front. So I'll be, editing and showcasing my work,
Yeah.
but also leading others to do the same. And the thing I'm most excited about is just give people work opportunity. I
Yeah.
think as creatives, I get hit up all the time. It's like, hey, do you know of a job here, a job there? It's this online video editing. If you're at home and you want to make some side cash, go through what will be a free course that I'll be offering to make sure you're up to par with what I need for the clients of the company, and then you just get to work. You'll be making videos from your home if you're connected to Wi-Fi and you have some skill set that gets you to the level that we would like. You'll be making as much money as you want because it's just as much time you put in that you'll be making.
Man, that's absolutely amazing, brother. Congratulations to you. Well
Thank you.
deserved,
Thank
well
you. Thank you.
earned. We'll continue to support you on your journey, do whatever we can on our end. And we look forward to collaborating, partnering, celebrating all the above in the near future. We definitely look forward to reaching out and learning more about the company as well, because obviously we do a lot of content as well over here. Um, and where can people find you?
On social content at Content CEO.
Yes. So this has been another great episode, Roger. Thank you so much for giving me your time, give me your gems, your story, and also your inspiration. I greatly appreciate it. and I look forward to having you on again. Let's not let this be a one-off.
Yes, sir. All right. Appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
They major